Hello and welcome to the inaugural. Right, let's just cut that out and start again. Hello and welcome to the very first Split Screen podcast. I'm Alan Williamson and I am joined by the very handsome Craig Wilson.
Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. Just thought I'd get a wee compliment in there because the first time we tried to record this, it was really good. We had the date right and then we waffled for a while and then my Mac cut out in the middle of recording. So Craig was playing bad cop, so hopefully he'll be a bit nicer this time. So we're going to cut out a big waffly intro and we're just going to start talking about hopefully potentially interesting topics.
So Alan, who do we have on the show this week?
This week on the show we have a pair of glasses and a newspaper because it's our first podcast, so we haven't told anyone we're doing it yet. I don't know, maybe next week we'll see if Peter Molyneux wants to do it and talk about how much he loves dogs, something like that. Cliff Blasinski's gardening tips, who knows, I'm sure we can get someone along. Obviously it's our first podcast and it is a bit intimidating at first, but hopefully we'll get the grips with it later. You got any interesting news from the week?
No, Alan, I've not been out this week.
You've been indoors doing your job training. Well,
yeah.
I read something interesting about celebrity advertising on Twitter, and it was about Liz Hurley saying that she loved this new Estee Lauder makeup, and so she left a tweet saying, "Oh, I can't believe how good this new foundation is from Estee Lauder." It was really transparent like that. So I was trying to think of some new celebrity tweets, like Snoop Dogg announces he's changing the lyrics to Gin and Juice because he drinks Bombay Sapphire instead of Tanqueray, or I'll be on my Twitter and see a wee message from Charlie Brooker saying that he's really enjoying the crunch corner he's currently eating, those kind of pertinent topics.
Yeah, so as long as someone comes up with a product called Blood Label, Sarah Palin will be in there with a nice little royalty check eventually.
Absolutely, yeah. And
that's a joke that's going to last long. Topical humour.
That's put a timestamp on the podcast, so we don't need to include a real date now.
Nah. So first episode, first month, not quite the first week of January. So let's look at what's coming out this year. Alan, what do you not care about? Because I know you're a positive thinking person.
I am known for my withering optimism. I don't know. It's difficult to talk about what you don't care about for 2011 because you don't care about it. But I was looking through a big list, like the 50 most anticipated games of 2011, and there was two that I glossed over particularly quickly. The first was Max Payne 3. Now, hopefully some of the listeners, I was going to say readers, but I'm glad I said listeners.
Listeners, yeah. You're on the right sense.
I'm getting there in the right medium.
If you said tasters, that would also be wrong.
Tasters.
Feelers also wrong.
Well, I really loved the first two Max Payne games. Max Payne 1 I played in the PC, 2 I played in the Xbox and I didn't enjoy as much, but it was the one that had the first real havoc physics. So you kick barrels off a cliff just because you could. They didn't do anything, but it was nice that they moved.
6 years later, we're still essentially kicking barrels off cliffs.
Pretty much. Now it's a much bigger crate, and you're a super soldier walloping it with the butt of a rifle, because we do melee attacks now. But apart from that, it's the same physics. So Max Payne 3, if I knew anything about it, I'd be able to tell you about it. From the promotional footage, it seems like he's bald and he's old. He's got rid of his black trench coat and now he's got a wife beater. I wanted to play another Max Payne game. I didn't want to play Redneck Rampage. I don't know, maybe he's going to have a Davy Crockett cap on next and a six-pack of Budweiser.
They've really missed out on the opportunity because, for me, personally, Mark Wahlberg is the quintessential Max Payne. As depicted in Max Payne, the movie based on the game starring Mark Wahlberg.
Nobody will know about our mandate to the cinema when we sat through Max Payne, and we left in silence. It was like we'd been to a funeral, and then I had to review it for the student.
Except it's a funeral where people would laugh out at parts which were not intended to be funny by anyone involved in the production.
It was the funniest funeral I've ever been to.
It was strange to see someone die on screen like that for 90 prolonged minutes, almost from the first minute, in fact. It's the longest death scene I've ever seen in cinema.
It was a morbid film. But yeah, Max Payne 3, I just don't see where Rockstar are going with it because, well, first of all, it was Remedy that developed the first two, and they've now moved on to Alan Wake.
Yeah.
So instead of having an American guy, walking about shooting people, wearing a trench coat and being introspective, you've got an American guy wearing a trench coat, being introspective.
He wrote books, though.
He did write books, but Max Payne talked like he was writing a book to himself.
That's
so
true.
It's pretty similar. I think what would really help Max Payne 3 would be if they actually released some footage of the game rather than just a picture of balding Max. So that's Max Payne 3. Don't really care about that. The second one will be Dead Space 2. I mean, it just looks the same as the first one, doesn't it? I enjoyed Dead Space up to a point, but I felt like the concept had been wrung dry by the end of it. The last third of the game was a real drag, and it went from, oh, there's no monsters going to come and jump out of the darkness, it's all very atmospheric, to, oh yeah, you've been betrayed by your team, and now you've got to go to this planet, and everything's really bright now, so you can see the monsters. Kill them. Go, get the monsters. And by the end of the game, you were like a superhuman, because you'd powered up your suit and all your guns, and there was no sense of threat anymore. And so I really don't know where they're going to go with this one, and from the footage I've seen, it just looks like more of the same.
Yeah, but it's following the same template of the first game is very grey, and then the sequel adds colour and new weapons. As Gears of War very famously came out with Gears of War 2, where it had slightly more colour and a couple of different weapons.
It was like moving from monochrome to slightly coloured environments, but it was good that whenever they previewed Gears 2, and they were like, yeah, in the first Gears of War we had brown trees, so here's the same map in Gears 2, now the trees are green.
Yeah. But I think Dead Space 2 for me actually might be quite interesting, because the first game was so clearly limited like that. It was too long, it was so repetitive. You're a space janitor going around, fix the lights. Oh, you fix the lights, now you see the sink is broken, you go fix the sink, and you go, oh no, the plates are broken, you go fix the plates, and you go, oh god, the cooker's not working, so you go fix the cooker. And it just goes on and on and on, that anything which is shorter than the first game will be a success. Anything which is, doesn't resort to the same cheap tricks that they use, because it was a scary game in the sense of there were a million cupboards down a hall, and then each one something would jump out. So they used every cheap scare tactic in the bit.
I don't mind cheap scare tactics. I just think that they should watch some more horror movies, because to me it was like aliens. Yeah,
aliens.
It was an aliens thing sandwich, if you like. It was just environment of, in fact, more the environment of the first Alien with the crazy mutant freaks of the thing. So I mean, hopefully they take a bit more inspiration than just cribbing off other people's work. I mean, probably the best thing about Dead Space was there was an original concept, and there was nothing like it, and I loved things like the user interface, which sounds dull, but it was really cool that it sort of popped up out of your chest like that.
The greatest menus I've ever seen in a game, which again doesn't sound very cool, but it just was.
No, it doesn't sound cool at all. I think people probably switched off this podcast by now, to be honest. Yeah, because I suppose we could talk about what we're actually interested about in 2011, try and elevate the conversation a bit.
Yeah, so forget the crap, what's the good?
Okay, what's the good? The first one is Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So I was still playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Xbox until last year. I must admit I'm not fussed on the graphics style, and I know they're going for this kind of comic book aesthetic, but I just preferred the look of the old 2D games. I mean, I really liked the old Capcom art that they had there. I think it's going to be really good, though, because it is basically Street Fighter 4 with Wolverine in it, which is pretty much what I wanted all along.
Yeah, any game which is like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix is fine by me.
It was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yeah, or SSF2 THDR was a very good game.
You've practiced that?
We played SSF2 THDR quite a lot, I mean, it's a game which was unforgiving in terms of the people you're playing against. I mean, so many times I'd gone and come up against Ryu Killer 94, and I had every reason to believe that he'd been killing Ryu consistently on a regular basis, which is consistent.
I think that in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Ryu doesn't exist because he was actually killed by Ryu Killer. He's dead. Ryu's not coming back. It's over.
Thank Christ. Can we get Street Fighter 5 now?
Well, would have cloned Ken and given him black hair.
It's Tekken.
Oh,
that's a Tekken metallic. Can we make him a robot? Can we? Yeah, okay, good. We've got a sequel.
Robot Ryu. Yeah. We'll have evil Ryu. I don't know if he's a separate character, if he's just Ryu having a bad day. If he's like emo Ryu. But yeah, I mean, there's been like 30 versions of Street Fighter 2, and there you go.
And this last one has Wolverine in it, so it's the best.
At least it's got
10 out of 10.
At least it's got spandex in it. That's always a plus. Other games I'm looking forward to. I'm really sorry for this, by the way, but all of the games I've picked seem to have 3 in the name. Next one would be Mass Effect 3. So as you might have heard, I thought Mass Effect 2 was all right if you like that sort of thing.
It won our split screen award. The Splitty, or the Screeny, I forget what we called it.
It won the Screenies.
The Screeny.
They're not the Splitties anymore. Oh. They were the Splitties 2 months ago. Now they are the Screenies. So yeah, Mass Effect 2 was just amazing. I mean, by the end of it, I was on the edge of my seat. I'd practically achieved an erection. It was so good. Mass Effect 3 is set on Earth, which either means it's going to be really awful or very, very clever indeed. I mean, since it's BioWare we're talking about here, I'd probably put my money on the latter. The only thing that could make it bad would be that for me, Mass Effect 2 is very much about the exploration. So you can go to whatever world you like, and every planet's got its own story to tell. And there's loads of amazing characters to meet and fun things you can do. So the worst thing they could do would be to say, yeah, it's all set on Earth, because that would just kill it. There'd be no exploration. There'd be no. It wouldn't be so much an epic space quest anymore. Mass Effect is kind of like a nice mix between Star Wars and Star Trek, because it's got all the epic pomp of Star Wars, if you like, and the really interesting story. But it's got all the different cultures and things of Star Trek.
It's a lot of talking, which is what Star Trek really was a show about. It was people standing in corridors talking, occasionally running to the brig.
I probably shouldn't admit this on record, but I watched one episode of Star Trek once, and I did actually enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, if we're out and out here, I've watched entire seasons of Star Trek, and it's very good.
Oh, okay. I've been totally smacked down there. I'm getting the Star Trek box set for my birthday. What else is coming out?
Skyrim.
Oh yes,
Elder Rolls.
Skyrim. Elder Rolls.
The
baking simulation
from Oblivion.
From Oblivion. Yeah. voices by Scooby-Doo.
Right. Skyrim is coming out by Oblivion. No, it's not by Oblivion.
It's not by Oblivion. It's by Bethesda. It's a sequel to Oblivion.
I'm new to this. I've not played Oblivion.
Not played Oblivion?
No, never played.
But you're a big Fallout fan. Oblivion.
I know. Fallout 3 was my first introduction to Bethesda, so I'm excited in the sense that it's Bethesda doing it. But I'm always turned off by high fantasy, or fantasy rather. Anything with elves and wizards that is not the Discworld books, for some reason, just bores me.
You don't need to have a prejudice against elves. I mean, I only got into the Elder Scrolls series through Oblivion, so I'm a very short-term fan. I mean, a lot of people, for them, Morrowind was the game that really got them into the Elder Scrolls. And I only got into Oblivion after a couple of months, wondering what the hell was going on. I played it for maybe 50 hours. I don't actually know how to cast magic properly in that game. I just kind of have it mapped to a hotkey and hope that it turns out. And I could only ever shoot this one pithy fireball that could barely light a candle. I mean, it's pretty sad that the words Elder Scrolls 5 had me whipped up into this sort of frothing at the mouth frenzy, and I didn't have any concrete details, but those are the facts. I think it's got dragons in it. I know that's going to offend a lot of people.
Alan, Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6.
Think how good Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. It's going to have even more than 5, maybe even 2 fireballs at once.
2 fireballs,
like both hands.
If you could shoot them from your eyes.
The third one where you thrust.
Well, who knows what's going to happen in Elder Scrolls 5, because I don't get Game Informer magazine, and therefore I don't have privy to the information. All I've seen is this one low-res screenshot of a Yeti, and for all I know... yeah, this is it. For all I know, it could be like 4 polygons. It could be the worst-looking game ever, but it's got things like finishing moves for weapons, and apparently if you're walking through a town and you drop your sword... I don't know why you would drop your sword. If you drop your sword in town, a kid might come and pick it up and give it back to you and things.
So kind of like in Die Hard 3 then, when they don't leave the bomb around because they're like, some kid might pick this up. The guards are going to come up and it'll just be, no.
I don't know, I haven't seen Die Hard 3.
Good God, we're learning a lot about each other.
So
and I'm finding a lot of reasons to end this friendship right now.
So I'm getting the Star Trek box set.
And Die Hard trilogy.
I've seen the first Die Hard. I'm not a total prude.
Well, you're a slight prude, but
slight prude.
We'll work on that.
So, the next one on my list is Duke Nukem Forever, and you kind of have to buy it, don't you? I mean, I remember reading about Duke Nukem Forever when I was starting high school, and I was getting really excited about it. I mean, it's 2011 now, and I've seen breasts in real life since then, so it's a lot less exciting. But I'll probably get it just because it is Duke Nukem Forever, and I feel like I've sworn a blood oath with the Duke. I'm going to see this through to the end. I do have confidence that Gearbox are going to pull it off, and based on the footage I've seen, it's going to be good. It's not going to be the best game of 2011, but it's probably going to be the most memorable, just because it's been in development for longer than I've been out of nappies.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where, like, regardless of how good or how bad it is, it's going to get like a huge hype around it, just in the same way that Chinese Democracy kind of did. The belated, fabled Guns N' Roses album took 13 years, reportedly $14 million, and you listen to it and you go, this is not a $14 million album. This is someone who doesn't know how to write a consistent song like that lasts like 3 minutes. But it seems to me that like Duke Nukem, like the time for it is past. Instead of the humour and like the kind of crassness of it, it already came out and it's called Gears of War. So
I mean, there's a difference to it. I mean, Gears of War doesn't have the misogyny of Duke Nukem. You know, you can't.
Well, there's no women in Gears of War, so it's kind of hard for it to be misogynist. But I hear that's going to change in the next one.
There are women, but they're just as chunky as the men that you can't tell the difference. They've all got gigantic breasts and they've all got gruff voices. The women have been injected with testosterone at some farm. So
it's a video game then.
Yeah, it's a video game then. It's about these dudes killing these things. Now, Gears of War was a good segue there because that's probably
next time we do the segue, we should try not to point out the segue.
This will be edited. Gears of War 3. It's not the kind of game you would play at a cheese and wine evening with your parents, but Gears of War 2 is probably my favourite 360 game, along with Rock Band 2. So we've got Beast Mode. We get to play as the Locust Horde for the first time. It's been getting some really good feedback. I don't get to go to these trade shows, so I have to rely on the evidence of
third-hand, second-hand information here.
Fourth-hand evidence from 2-bit journalists on YouTube.
Sorry. We are journalists.
Yeah, we are journalists.
We journal all the time.
We're very, very, very serious chroniclers of the world. But anyway, I'm looking forward to when my theories prove right about Gears that they've been leading since the second game, where they're going to reveal the Locust are former humans who were subjected to experiments. I mean, I know this is supposed to be a big surprise, but certainly from about halfway through Gears of War 2, I've never seen heavier foreshadowing in my life. when they went into the tank with the room with the sires, and they all came out, and it was like, hey, I'm a scientist, and we've been doing something crazy over here. And then I was thinking, Locusts are humans, Locusts are humans, Locusts are humans. And then you get to the end, and you see the Locust Queen, and she's a human, and I was thinking, Locusts are humans, Locusts are humans. But I'm sure for the frat boys that are the general target audience of Gears, that'll be a surprise. Also hope there'll be another giant worm.
That would be quite nice. I mean, it would be strange because at the end of Gears 2 they had the secret sort of after credits special where you heard that Marcus Phoenix's dad was in fact an English duke. So I want to see how the frat boys handle that.
I'm Mr. Phoenix and this is all awfully bad.
Why, Marcus? Why did you do it? Stop, Marcus!
I'm sorry, Dad.
He gets that from his mother, apparently. Who will be the Queen Locust, but never mind.
he gets the American accent from his also English Queen.
Yeah.
But that's what happens in American games. The enemies are always British.
It has to be, yeah.
But always English people with a monocle and a rapier.
Yeah, but I do agree completely on Gears 3. It will be great. I'm not so much interested in the story, unless they saddle Dom with another odd, poignant story, perhaps about love and loss and losing a loved one.
But I guess Rabbit or something this time, since he's already lost his wife.
Well, he's got a fuzzier fro and a beard, so character's going in a dark direction. That's what that means.
He's grown a beard? It probably means he's evil.
It's the perennial sign of laziness and darkness.
Maybe he's going to get a British accent and there'll be a twist and Dom will turn into a baddie. You'll notice I'm trying to think of something. He starts calling Marcus a git, and then it slowly slides down into full Englishness, and then his cycle into evil is complete.
Yeah, just screams "FUD" under his voice every now and then. That'd be good.
FUD. Well, he's becoming Scottish. He's becoming a savage.
Yeah, but again, more colour. That would be nice. Just more colour, guys. Come on. There's more than green.
There's a whole big palette out there. That's what I always really like with the Halo series is that if you're playing a game, doesn't have to be real. It's fantasy, so you may as well fill it with purple.
But yeah, I mean, I think other games have gotten a lot of hype, and at least when it was first previewed, had people photoshopping it for saying that there were too many rainbows, too much colour. It was Diablo 3.
Oh, well, Diablo 3 is, surprisingly, another game on my list. Who'd have thought it? Diablo 2 was actually one of my most played games of last year, and even if the new game is just Diablo 2 with a lick of paint, that'll be good enough in my book. Since it's Blizzard, it's probably going to be one of the most polished games of all time, since they clearly have a staff of about 1,000 people. The board of directors, they all just swim around in vats of money like Scrooge McDuck all day. But we've got thousands of grunts, probably all Korean StarCraft players, getting to code for just another few goes in the game, another snort of the StarCraft coke pile.
Yeah,
but
if StarCraft 2 is anything to go by, it will be true to its form, but it'll look great. I mean, they've just got the best art team. That's what we saw in WoW, even though I didn't like it. World of Warcraft was just stunning to look at.
Yeah, I mean, even though World of Warcraft is it must be 7 years old now.
Yeah.
It's still a really fantastic looking game. I mean, okay, your characters kind of look a bit chunky, and if you go into water, it just looks like coloured glass. But the art design is incredible. But I think Diablo 3, Diablo 2 is still a really good game, and it is essentially just a hack and slash game. But one thing that it really needs is variation, because 2, it's literally you just walk into a group of monsters, click the mouse, and then you start killing them. Once they're dead, you find another group of monsters, and then you repeat the first step that I mentioned.
It is a single-player game, right? Or co-op, or
you could play it in single player, but that would be a lonely way to spend your time. I mean, you would want to play it in co-op. One thing that'll be good about Diablo 3 is in 2, if you want to play it in single player, like not connect to BattleNet, you have to play it with a specific character only for offline play. And so there's no sense of progression. Whenever you go into BattleNet,
it's a new game.
Yeah, whenever you go into BattleNet, you get your BattleNet character, then you get your single player character, and never the two shall meet. So one thing we've seen with StarCraft 2, I'm not sure how much you've actually played of it.
I've taken it out of the box and installed it, and then installed an update. Didn't play it for a fortnight, installed the update again, and forgot about it. So
installing StarCraft is like a game in itself.
It took about 5 hours. Yeah. It was quite intense.
I managed to play through a good chunk of Mass Effect while I was waiting for it to install.
I finished the book.
Finished the book?
I finished the book. I was reading.
Did you start the book during the installation process?
I wrote the book, proofreaded it, published, and then got it back and read it, and was like, "This was a good day." Oh, look, StarCraft's finished.
You're already earning commission off your first novel by the time StarCraft has been installed. But one thing about StarCraft 2, whenever you do get around to playing it, is that it's continually tied into BattleNet, and so it's a bit like Xbox Live. You've got your achievements and your sense of progression. And so one thing Diablo 3 surely must do is to have one unified character across the single player and the online play. And for people who've played it before, I think that's probably going to be worth the price of admission. I mean, for everybody else, it's going to be a really fun game.
Cool. That's all I can say.
Cool.
I'm not a Diablo guy. I'm not an RPG guy. So cool.
That's cool. Okay, what else is cool? I know, Child of Eden. There's a game that's going to be cool. For me, this is going to be the reason to get Kinect. My brother got Kinect for Christmas, and it does actually work. It's quite a cute little device. It looks a bit like Wall-E. Whenever you turn it on, kind of go, Wall-E, Kinect, and it crank its head up and down, and it's almost like it's got a personality. The problem with Kinect is that it's actually quicker for me to sign in with a controller than it is for Kinect to recognise all 3 of my chins and log me into the game. I mean, Child of Eden looks really, really nice, and I think that's the correct way to describe it. It's lovely. It's like a crazy Japanese electronic music video that you play. And what really shocked me about the E3 trailer was whenever the cursor came up and you realised that was actually what the game looked like, and that just totally blew me away. Because I didn't think it was possible for a game to actually impress me anymore with my cynical heart of stone. But this is just phenomenal, and okay, it's essentially a direct sequel to Rez, which if anyone's
no one's going to argue with that, though.
No, well, certainly not. I mean, even if it turned out to be Rez HD, but actually in HD, that would still be a personal highlight for me. I mean, maybe I'm just easy to please. It's probably the inner Sega fanboy in me thinking, is it
Sega people involved?
Oh yeah, Rez was like the last good Sega game. That was the last Dreamcast game that was produced in Europe, I think.
It's hard to pick out a Sega game without Sonic and low sales being attached.
I don't mind. I don't have shares in the company. The only interest I have in Sega is in my childhood, so it's perfectly okay to call them rubbish now. But no, Rez was like I think it was the last Dreamcast game that I bought, and that was just after they'd announced the cancellation of the Dreamcast, and so Rez went to the PS2, and then like Crazy Taxi went everywhere, and Panzer Dragoon and things went onto the Xbox. That was the diaspora for all the Sega games. So I was a big fan of Rez. Bought it again in HD for the Xbox. I think that was the day I was doing my psychology project, the third year. I was playing at 8 o'clock in the morning, having this really trippy experience. So Child of Eden, that's going to be fantastic. Yeah. I think what's good about Child of Eden is, even if Kinect sucks, and that's a very real possibility.
You said that with a certain sense of, it's probably going to suck.
Even though
if the Wii and the past 3 years have quite a lot of substantial evidences to go by, motion controllers aren't that good.
Even if the motion control on the Wii turned out to be pointless, and even if Kinect turned out to be an expensive gimmick, and even if PlayStation Move turned out to be one of the biggest wastes of money anyone could possibly spend.
So
whenever that happens, they'll still be able to play it with the controller. Problem solved.
Excellent.
Problem solved. I've only got one thing left on my list, and this is where sort of my Apple nerd side comes out.
This is cheating. If this was a list to Santa, this one would be dropped off and there'd be no mention. I'd hope you'd be distracted by the other games. New Final Cut Pro.
Well,
new Final Cut Studio, sorry.
There are rumours that there will be a new Final Cut Studio, and that's great for me because I'm professionally certified in Final Cut Pro, which means that I won't be anymore, and I probably won't have the money to recertify. So it's always nice to become less qualified, you know. Since we're in a recession, it's always nice to know you've less to write in your CV. I was once a Final Cut Pro, but I'm all right now. I suppose the other thing I'm looking forward to is whatever Apple goodies will be out this year. There's going to be an iPhone 5 because it's a year. I'll be due for an upgrade in Christmas, and I'm sure Apple will fix the problems with the iPhone 4, unless of course this time it comes, you know, encased in a block of lead, and there's a heating element next to the earpiece that electrocutes everybody that uses it.
And it'll still sell. It will sell like hotcakes, and then Samsung will release their similarly devised ear piercer.
The Nexus H that goes 20 degrees hotter than the iPhone and pumps out 30 more volts.
I think if it's, you know, it's going to come across in future shows, but you are a sort of huge Mac guy, and I am the voice of reason. But it will, I mean, it's iPhone 5. It will come out. It will have features that you didn't realise you wanted, and it will probably work. The competition will try and fail to catch up with it.
For me, it's never about Apple have made this, therefore I must buy it. It's really about what's the best tool for the job, and that's why I have an Xbox 360. That's why I have Windows 7 installed on my Mac, because I like to play games, and Macs traditionally aren't very good at that. I mean, at the end of the day with the iPhone, I just want something that works. And it's not in an Apple, it just works marketing jargon way. It's in I want to be able to turn my phone on, send a text, send an email, whatever, and know that it is reliable. And the problem I have with Android phones is that I don't feel like they're reliable. They've got poor hardware quality, software seems half-baked. And one of the things I read over Christmas was that Android had this bug where you could send a text message to someone and it would just send it to someone else randomly. And not only that, but it wouldn't even tell you that it sent it to another contact. So anybody having an affair will have it brought to a swift halt by Android. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Android phones. And if the iPhone ceased to exist, I would totally buy one. But the point is kind of like, what's the best tool for the job? And first of all, because I use iTunes and a Mac, it integrates really well. But secondly, I just think it's a better product. I don't see why we should settle for second best. And I certainly don't want to have to tinker with the kernel on my phone. For God's sake, it's a phone. You know, it's bad enough having to tinker with the back end of your computer than having another computer to lug around and to crash. But anyway, yes, iPhone 5, might get one of those. I mean, it really depends on what's been added to it. I'm really happy with the 3GS, and even though the 4 is a lovely phone, there's still not a massive reason to upgrade, because at the end of the day, you buy things for what they do at the time. The other one will be the iPad 2, because I don't have an iPad yet, surprisingly. I spent all my money on 2 Apple tattoos, you know. I'll probably that is a joke, by the way. So I'll probably get an iPad this year, and I'm very keen to see what the changes will be there. So, Craig, what are your picks for the year?
Well, I think my apologise for my dig at you for being a Mac guy, because the easy retort is that I don't actually play new games that often, so I didn't know what was coming out this year. And the same with that, I tend not to know what I'll be doing at the end of this year. It'll be a surprise. So, looking at the lists, it seems like Portal 2 will be coming out sometime in the summer, and that's very interesting for kind of few reasons. First, it's just that the first game did not need a sequel.
No, it absolutely didn't.
And it's sort of one of the rare times where I really don't want anything else to happen in the Portal universe, because it felt like such a complete... It is my definitive when I think what is the greatest game that has come out past 10 years. It is Portal for me. It's just flawless.
I mean, it kind of is the perfect game, because it was short, it was to the point, and then once it was done, you felt satisfied. Yeah. And that's why we were talking earlier before we recorded this about how they changed the ending of Portal.
Yeah.
And at the end of Portal originally, you just sort of end up in this car park, and I wouldn't say it breaks the fourth wall, but it certainly breaks what you thought was going on, because you thought you were in this testing facility, and then, you're out in the car park.
You see a very short glimpse of the sky, and it's the first time you've seen natural sky, and then it just faded to black and the credits came, and you were kind of really satisfied with that. It doesn't matter what happened on, because that character, the story arc had been done.
Yeah.
They patched it so that then a robot literally drags you back in, so that's what Valve are doing. They are releasing a couple of robots and they're dragging me back in, and I will get it and I will play it. But it just seems to me that they put Stephen Merchant in it, who's Ricky Gervais's writing partner, so we're going to have a wacky orb rolling around. And I've really stopped reading any previews after that because I just know, or I don't build up anticipation or even build up sort of hate towards it. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes down.
I mean, honestly, the Stephen Merchant announcement irritated me because I didn't want them to feel like they were, if this is even a word, celebritizing the whole thing.
It really smacks like they tried for Gervais and they didn't get him. He was out of the office, but Stephen picked up the phone and they just got confused. They're like, it's a British guy.
Stephen was cleaning the kitchen at the time and happened to pick up Ricky's phone. He got a call from Valve.
And probably writing all the good jokes, I think, if sort of the on-screen relationship is anything to go by.
I mean Portal 2, honestly, it kind of slipped my mind because, I mean, like you said, I don't feel like I need to play a sequel to Portal, but the fact that they redid the ending, I just feel a bit shafted after that. It's like, imagine you'd gone to the cinema to see Inception, right? You get Inception on DVD, right? And you watch the film, and then at the end of the film, there's this really jarring cut, and then you see the little spinner continuing to spin, and then Michael Caine goes, "Oh my God, you're still in a dream." You would feel totally ripped.
Yeah, Inception 2 coming 2012.
Yeah, Inception 2, yeah. like a lost cliffhanger.
that would have been a better ending to Inception for me had it just went boom and a lost logo came up.
Previously on Inception.
So it'll be interesting to see when it comes out. But yeah, rest of 2011 for me will be catching up through the games of 2010 that I did not play. So Fallout New Vegas, Call of Duty Black Ops, StarCraft 2, Beyond Good and Evil, which I'm dismayed to hear they're actually doing like a special version or something.
Yes, they're doing an HD remake, and by remake I mean they're changing the resolution to 720p and slapping it onto the Xbox.
And undoubtedly fixing all the little niggly archaic parts that I'm going to have to troll through.
Not even. I mean, I have Beyond Good and Evil for the Xbox, but it's not backwards compatible, and it's one of these games that you kind of you save off for a rainy day and think I'm going to play that. So that was a waste of money. I'll buy it in HD for the 360 and enjoy it, but it is a game that hasn't really aged at all. It's got a very, very unique aesthetic, probably because it's French, and you've got a giant talking pig, and you get to ride around in a hovercraft. A lot of people have said it's like Zelda. It's like because this is what people automatically do, It's like, it's a bit like Call of Duty with space aliens, or it's not really like Zelda at all. I don't know. It's like, it reminds me of the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time games, where it's got that kind of really like fairy tale setting to it. And there's something really good-hearted about the way it's been made. It's got a lot of heart to it, a lot of
character.
Yes, yeah, a lot of character, but also got a lot of good intention. So I think I will look forward to hearing what you think about it, because I honestly can't wait to play it again. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we could possibly talk about, because Craig's going to miss his train home. So thanks very much for listening, and we don't have any plans to make a new one, so it'll probably be in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But for now, I've been Alan Williamson. Thanks very much for listening.
I've been Craig Wilson. Thank you, Alan.